Imagery and language processing, we don't want to talk anymore today about LANCs. We're off of decoding, and we're going to be now really on to comprehension. But the reason that I had to talk to you about decoding is that you have to understand the comprehension problems are not just decoding. So in order to do that, you all had to know what decoding problems could be. So now we're going to turn to this question. And this is a girl that I worked with, and she was in 12th grade. And I just wrote about her in the revised Visualizing Verbalizing Manual. Let me just give you a quick rundown on what she looked like. Like Lance, her oral vocabulary was okay. It was right at the normal range. It was not high and it was not low. However, unlike Lance, her word attack skills were 12.9 grade level. She looked a lot like Natalie. Her word recognition skills were 12.9, and her paragraph reading was 12.9, or above the 12th grade in that test. And so the only circle that I haven't shared with you is the big circle of comprehension. Her situation was that she was going to drop out of school in her senior year, January of her senior year. And the reason that she was going to do that, so she's up here, she'd never been retained, no one had ever said that she had a problem. The reason that she was going to do that was that they had sent her in California across the street to a compensatory education place where you could go. It's called continuation. And you can go from 8 to 12 and get a diploma, essentially. And she did not want to do that because she'd been all through school with all of her friends. So I did this diagnostic testing, and unlike Lance, who was effervescent and friendly and talkative and chattery, she had difficulty expressing herself. She had what would be called a flat affect. This was many years ago. I'm going to tell all of you that it's my problem is that many years ago I did not know about hyperlexia. I did not know about autism, and I suspect now that she was on the spectrum someplace. She had this flat affect. She was very quiet. She had her head down most of the time. And when I was doing the diagnostic testing, the thing that reared its head was that her comprehension was like this, actually. If you look at percentiles, she was right around the 80th percentile in reading words, so her accuracy. But she was at the 9th percentile in comprehension. So she had this enormous gap, and nothing that I had tested could account for it. So I said to her, what's it like when you're in school? And she had her head down, and I had to sort of get down the desk. Do you have it on me? Had to sort of get down on the desk and try to talk to Michelle. She had lots of permed hair, and she was a little bit heavy, not much, but a little bit. And she just did not talk to me very much. And so I finally said, what do you do when you study in school? And she looked up and she said, I don't study. And I said, what did you do? Did you ever study? And she said, well, yeah, I used to study, but I had to read the information 3 and 4 times. And I wanted to take the test, and I still didn't understand it. So I said to her, what do you want to do when you grow up? And she said, I don't know. And I said, well, if you could do anything, what would you want to do? And she said, the oddest thing now, and as I think back, she said she'd like to be a dental hygienist, and I just don't think that that's something I would like to be. So when she said that to me, I was like, I've never forgotten what she said. And I said, that's nice. I said, why do you think you're not going to be able to do that? And she said, no, I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. And she put her head down again, and she said, I can't remember what people tell me. And so she was validating that not only was her weakness in written language comprehension, but it was also in oral language comprehension. And the rest of her story is that I went to, had her father in for the consultation, separate from the mother, and the father said, they've never done any diagnostic testing. There's been nothing done with Michelle. We don't know what to do with her. And he said, but in 4th grade, she was slipping away in reading, and they sent her to a special reading class. And you know what they did with her in 4th grade in a special reading class? They had her read and answer questions. They knew she could read the words, but they didn't know what to do with her to teach her how to comprehend. And her mother came in and she said, I brought a friend with me. Now, why do you think her mother brought a friend with her? Because she couldn't understand when people gave her information. She said, I don't really understand what people say or talk about, so I brought a friend to help me. So we think there's no question that this separate comprehension problem, a weakness, can be hereditary, just like Lance's problem can be hereditary, although there's not been a lot of studying about that yet. Her problem was this, that as the oral language came in or written language came in, literally, it went in one ear and out the other. But when it went in and went out the other, and this is important for the rest of our time together, she was able to get parts. She could remember maybe a date or the name of someone. But what she didn't get, I think that's on my next slide, I'll show you right here, what she didn't get was the whole, or the gestalt. Now, if she's just getting parts, then when she reads, when you read and try to read whole history books or chapters, if you're only getting parts, you're not going to remember everything in order to do what are called higher order thinking skills. Okay? So you're not going to be able to get a main idea or make an inference because you don't have the whole. If you've only gotten parts of what you've read or heard, you cannot draw a conclusion because you're drawing a conclusion off of just a bit or a part of it. So take us to Kimberly. This is Kimberly again talking about what it was like.
Sometimes I would sit down to do homework, and I wouldn't finish my assignment, and I would think that I was being lazy about it, and I would sit down multiple times to try and do this homework, and I would read what I was trying to do and then try and write whatever I was supposed to be writing about, and I just would never finish it. And after being instructed for a while, I realized that what I was reading, I wasn't comprehending. I had no idea what they were talking about, and then trying to write an essay about 50 pages that you just read and you don't understand it. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, it's so hard. I was drowning in college, you know.
The next slide that you'll have up is a slide talking about the image gestalt, this whole, and that the sensory information that prevents this language from going in one ear and out the other is imagery. So that's the point of this, that if you think that you have 5 senses, the only way you can possibly stop language from going in one ear, you can put this on me, and out the other, is something to do with visual imagery, because you can't smell language, you can't taste it, you can hear it, and it still is going in one ear and out the other. So if you look at the thing of those 5 senses, the only thing that you can feel it, haptic, the only thing that you can probably do to stop that from going in one ear and out the other is visual imagery.